Hello, I'm Ben Greenberg, a lead developer relations engineer at New Relic, and today we're going to see how quickly you can find that bug in your Rails 7 application deployed on render in the New Relic One dashboard. First of all, you can find all the information in this video and more on the New Relic blog, where we detail how to get up and running with a Rails 7 application deployed on render and monitor it for bugs with New Relic One. To begin with, we will move to our render dashboard where we see the list of our services currently deployed on render. And you notice that we have both the New Relic 7, New Relic Rails 7 application web service deployed over here. And in addition, we also have the New Relic 7 PostgreSQL database deployed over here. We only need to look at, for our purposes of this demo walkthrough, our web service application over here. So if we take a peek and we click through here, we notice the full deployment history for this Rails application directly from our repository, which is very, very helpful if you want to track your deployment histories and find bugs through the render dashboard as well. Our next step, what we want to do directly, is access that application, and we want to browse a little bit through the application, and then we're going to intentionally cause an error. Now, we don't always want to cause errors intentionally in our applications, certainly not in production, but for our purposes, we're going to purposefully cause an error so that we can find it within our New Relic One dashboard. So we'll hop on over to our sample app. This is live on the web, and it's got two links on the app, as you notice. It has a get started link right over here, and it has a make an error link over here. Let's go first take a peek at what that get started link does. So if we click on the get started link, we notice each step to how to set up our Ruby on Rails application using Rails 7, how to commit to GitHub, create the New Relic account, create a render account, add the New Relic Ruby agent, configure it, and then explore your data. We will post the link to all of these things for you within the video, so you can go and browse them on your own. And really, you can get up and running in just 8 steps from a deployed Rails application to deploying it to monitoring it with New Relic One. For our purposes, we're going to navigate back to that homepage, and we are going to intentionally cause an error in our production application. So let's click on that error. And we've caused an error, and we see the infamous "we're sorry, but something went wrong" error page from a Rails application. Now, if this was a full production application, you might have another kind of error page. You might have created a really beautifully designed error page for your users. But regardless whether it is the Rails standard error page or it is something that you've created for your users when something goes wrong, either way, the purpose of this error page is the same, which is to obfuscate what happened and what exactly went wrong. Because obviously for your end users, you don't want to reveal to them production environment variables, production keys, and data points, and all other kinds of unique information that really shouldn't be put into and revealed to your users just when they hit an error page. So if we've come onto this error page, and we can click it, we'll refresh it just a couple times just to really get some data in there. And we were wondering, well, what went wrong? Now, our application here that we've deployed, as you see, is a relatively small application. It's only got 2 links, but what if this was a complex application running many different microservices, deployed across many different servers, and you have to trace down that error as quickly as you possibly can so that you can get things back up and running and make sure all your lights, so to speak, are green again? We can do that by navigating to the New Relic One dashboard for our application. When we come to the dashboard, we see a whole lot of different data points that can help us quickly diagnose what is going wrong and help us deploy a fix to enable our production app to be working again the way it should be, as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So when we look at our New Relic One dashboard, we immediately notice a few different things that pop out to us. For example, we see over here an anomaly detected in our demo app. The error rate was much different than normal because normally our application does not have any errors, but suddenly we have errors. And what the new Relic One application will do for you, it actually monitors your rate of errors in general. And when those starts peaking or spiking in ways that are out of the ordinary for your application, that will set an anomaly for you that you can quickly find in your dashboard. All of those settings are customizable. These are what come out of the box by default when you first set up your dashboard. You also notice things like your web transaction time over here, which tells you exactly how long things are taking to deploy for your application. And you see things like this over here is your request queuing. Up here is your middleware in the purple. And over here is the Ruby application itself, the Rails application, which is in Ruby, and the middleware, which is Rack, and then the requests, the HTTP requests that are happening to the application itself. For our purposes, what we're particularly interested in is this error rate over here. And what we're also really interested in is coming down and looking at the errors that we can find right over here. And we can also navigate to it over in our errors inbox. So let's go ahead and click on one of those. And we're gonna click on the events, under the events sidebar navigation to the errors. When we click there, we get a new view, which helps us diagnose quickly what is going on with our application. Now remember, we're looking at a demo application. It is one service, a majestic monolith Rails application, so to speak, with two links. But if this was a massive deployed microservices application running across many different servers and many different deployment possibilities, the complexity of what we're dealing with grows exponentially, so the ability to have this view becomes even more important. Now, immediately when we start looking at this view, we notice right away that we have some errors that spiked particularly at around 11:45 in the morning, and they ended, right? We come back to flat errors over here. Now, we know why that happened because we intentionally created those errors. But if we didn't intentionally create errors, and we're trying to figure out what's going on, that can help us understand, well, what was happening around that time? Maybe a new release was put into production, maybe someone deployed something that maybe we need to roll back. It can help us diagnose by time. In addition to that, if we go down to our error traces, what we notice immediately over here, and you can see it right over here, in fact, is this error. What is the transaction name and the error class? Immediately we could tell by looking at that we were focused down to our controller, our demo controller, and specifically the error action. And that error action has an error message attached to it. And if we look at that error message, we see that we have an uninitialized constant for the demo controller doesn't exist. Well, that's a pretty artificial error, right? We're creating this error for our demo application. But if it wasn't artificial, that would instantly tell us so much data that would be invaluable for helping us figure out what exactly is going on with our application over here. So if we go ahead and we click through to that error, let's take a look at what we see. We're loading the error trace, and we find some very helpful pieces of data here. First of all, we see the exact file where this error was most recently located, and the file line number 9. We can see some of the HTML header information and the error attributes. It was a 500 HTTP status code. We see it was on a GET request. The URL was demo/error. But this is really where it becomes really, really important for us, because we can then go to our application and go to the demo controller in line 9 and find out exactly what the problem is. So let's say we wanted to do that. Let's just navigate over to our application and see what the issue is. So we're going to navigate on GitHub to this application, and it's going to take us to the app. And we know that it was in the controller, line number 9. Let's go take a peek at what that was going on in that controller action in the demo controller. Line number 9 has a very interesting method for us, which you can see. which is doesn't exist, and invokes a constant called doesn't exist, or a class, and invokes a method on it, a class method called do something. Well, doesn't exist and the method do something, as it's called, doesn't exist. So we went from not knowing what was wrong in our application. We went from the ubiquitous and default error page where we're sorry but something went wrong. We went from this error page to tracing it down in New Relic One within minutes, less than minutes, and we found the exact line item in our code that helps us diagnose and figure out the issue. We did it! We solved the issue in our application by using the New Relic One dashboard to quickly find the issue and navigate to it so that we can understand what was going wrong and be able to produce a fix and deploy it to our production application. If this was interesting to you and you want to figure out more about how you can use New Relic One in your Rails applications, feel free to reach out to us anywhere you can find us on the interwebs, the DevRel group at New Relic, or you can email us directly at devrel@newrelic.com.